the 18th, 2021, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of the generations to come. Just an update, you may not remember, but Chris Babcock is attending the virtual labor conference this morning and will be giving us an update at our next meeting. And I was remiss at the October meeting not thanking the service for their help with the turkey train and the Phil, a cruiser. And it's always great to see the officer in a tutu and whatnot, pulling the wagon with the food down the street with the children. I think it's great community building for the little ones to see that police officers can have some fun too. And also thanks for everyone's involvement in Remembrance Day. Any additions to the agenda? Chief?
Nope, none.
Okay, any declaration of interest? Okay, Bryce, we're going to move in camera. So motion please to move in camera. Chris McGuire. Sean, is that your hand up?
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay, Bryce, you can let us know. Okay. Lindsay Gray, our ministry advisor, is sitting in today, but Lindsay doesn't have a report, but she's willing to answer any questions as we move through the meeting. And we've lost our advisor in training. He's disappeared, so I guess he had enough of us. Correspondence, just a reminder and an update of the November 26th OA PSB zone meeting. So the minutes of October the 28th, which Janice circulated last week. Any errors or omissions? If not, motion to approve, please. Rob, Chris, all in favor? Thank you. Business arising. Discussion to resume in-person meetings. We decided to leave this on, but council's still doing Zoom meetings, Sean. So I think we agreed that we would do what council is doing. Is that right, Chief?
Yes, I think there is a report coming to council, and I think it's regarding some changes to procedural bylaws with regards to virtual meetings, whether the town's in a state of emergency or not. So we're waiting for that report that'll come to council, and council obviously will have some discussion on that. And if the town is no longer in a state of emergency, as to whether or not they'll still remain virtual with their meetings. Is that correct, Your Worship? Yes. Perfect. Great. So that's all that there is for an update on that at this point.
So I guess that raises a question that maybe Lindsay can answer. Lindsay, is it the same thing for police service, or once council goes back in, are we obligated then as well to resume in person?
Obviously you would need to continue following public health advice, and whatever that would be kind of the leading authority in terms of where you take your direction. Many communities, I think, are following the lead of council. You're not obligated to. Ultimately, whatever approach you take, as long as it's reflected in your rules and procedures in terms of how you'll operate, that is ultimately a decision you can make. As I said, I think many communities are following council's lead, but it's not an obligation by any means.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 2021 budget update.
Just a brief update on our 2021 budget, and you have the last budget monitor for ending October 31st, and pleased to see that we're showing a surplus of about 2.2%, or just over $87,000 in surplus, mostly in our wages and salaries line and other payroll line, and that's dealing with officers that have been off for various reasons. Highlights in the budget monitor, we're tracking well with our overtime budget, and as well in many of our other lines. Our part-time line is tracking well. Our vehicle maintenance, repairs, and fuel, even despite the rising fuel costs, we're still sitting well in that line. And so really at this point in time, with really a month and a half to go, no surprises, no large expenses that are causing us any concern, or repairs or anything along that nature. So certainly subject to any questions. That's all I have for the budget monitor for 2021 at this time.
Any questions? Oh. Okay, moving on to the 2022 draft budget.
And as the board knows, the last we did our draft, or our that's going to go to council for first draft next Monday to committee of the whole, and there have been just a few minor changes actually that has brought down the budget slightly, and just some adjustments made with regards to payroll and other benefits and other things that have so we were sitting at about a 2.4% increase. We're sitting at about 2.1% increase. Now there will be a little bit of adjustment. I think the town has not finished some of the adjustments, didn't get in for the first draft with regards to the final negotiations with the association. And so there will be a few adjustments there. I expect that'll come back up to about the 2.3% or thereabouts. So we're sitting where the board last saw as far as the resolution to bring this forward as the first draft. So there will be so the first draft will be a little bit less, and then we'll be sort of back up, I think, to the 2.3% for the second draft, which will be in December.
Okay, questions? No? Okay. The chief had circulated the COVID-19 policy last week.
This is so we did release our COVID vaccination policy for all staff, as I'd indicated before. The policy was was housekeeping. Really, we have 100% compliance, and everybody, both civilian and sworn, are vaccinated. So which we were pleased, and it certainly makes things easier to manage here, and certainly assists in keeping our community safe and our staff safe. With everybody being vaccinated, the policy, just in a nutshell, deals with being fully vaccinated. And in the absence of that, would require mandatory testing before each block of shifts, and so that's following suit with most police services around the provinces, how they have gone. And there was through the OACP. We submitted our policy as well, so that other services have a chance at looking at our policy, and we had a chance at looking at others as well, to make sure we weren't missing anything, or any legal issues, any health and safety issues, or human rights issues. So I think we have things covered off with regards to medical exemptions, human rights exemptions, and then the requirement for mandatory testing. So again, just a policy that was put into place and released to staff. We did have full endorsement and support from the Police Association as well on this policy. So that was we were happy to have their support along this as well. And obviously, they're wanting to keep the community safe and staff safe.
Questions? Okay, new business, the Community Safety and Policing Grant.
Some good news from the ministry with regards to, and there was certainly lots of announcements in the last week on the news from the Premier and from our Solicitor General with regards to the Community Safety and Policing Grant. As you may recall, that grant in its original days was called the 1,000 Officer Grant, and that was a grant that assisted with additional policing resources around the province. It was renamed a number of years ago, and it was split into two streams, one being the local stream and one being the provincial stream. The local stream designed to help with frontline policing, community service initiatives, things of that nature. It had been reduced when it was split into two, and so our grant had gone down probably about $15,000 at that time. I'm happy to say that with the new announcement from the Premier, that's going to be going back up. So with a successful grant application, currently our grant, and that may change then for our 2022 budget. Currently, it sits at just over $48,000, and it would be in excess of $60,000 with the new grant announcement. So that would be good news, and that covers off and really that's sort of encompasses our community service officer and some of the initiatives there, and they've expanded on some of that to go with the support for mental health services. So it fits in with our mobile crisis response team as well. On the provincial side, the government has also expanded a little bit on the criteria and where those funds can be used. So we will be putting in an application on the provincial side, and one of the areas that was typically in past was sort of geared for larger services, if you will, with bigger problems with guns and gangs, but it does, and we were successful with some grant funding with regards to human trafficking and sexual violence, and so they've also included mental health in those as well. So we will be putting an application in there to seek some further funding there for resources. So that'll be coming, and that commitment from our provincial government is to the fiscal 24-25 year. So into the first quarter of 2025. So it's a 3-year grant program. So that'll be nice and give us some stability to that area of our funding for the next 3 years. So subject to any questions, that was a good announcement, and certainly some good commitment from our provincial government to help policing.
Questions? It is good news. Okay. Deputy Chief, the manager's report.
Good morning. So our manager's report for our activities in the month of October. The police service responded to 688 calls for service. The members of the police service assisted the Kingston police in maintaining order during their homecoming activities in the city of Kingston. The Kingston police had made a request to neighboring agencies for staffing assistance during this time, and we were able to respond with a couple of officers. On October 8th, the members of the police service participated in the annual Stuff a Cruiser campaign and the Turkey Trot at St. Francis School. And as a result, over 2,300 food items were collected, and almost $700 in cash donations were taken in for our local food bank. The uniform patrol officers, during the month of October, some calls for service of note: 23 motor vehicle collisions, 25 domestic and family disturbance investigations, 45 false 911 calls, 20 mental health related calls, 11 fraud investigations, 25 theft investigations, 4 impaired driving investigations, 2 sexual assault, 1 stolen vehicle, and 10 warrants were executed. The STEP selected traffic enforcement program target for October was offenses relating to seat belts and child restraint systems. And as a result, 5 charges were laid. The STEP target for November will be intersection safety. From October 8th to the 11th, the police service participated in Operation Impact, which is a provincial traffic enforcement program over the Thanksgiving weekend. It targets impaired driving, aggressive driving, and distracted driving. And as a result, our patrol officers laid 1 impaired driving charge and 11 Highway Traffic Act charges related to aggressive driving. The Criminal Investigations Branch conducted activities in support of the drug investigations, sexual assault, and providing assistance to uniform officers with search warrants in their investigations. As well, they located and assisted in the arrest of several persons wanted on outstanding arrest warrants. A couple of incidents of note for our Criminal Investigation Branch: the arrest and numerous charges laid against an individual for mischief related to incidents of graffiti vandalism on Town of Smiths Falls and Parks Canada property. As well, a drug warrant was executed at a residence in town in support of a joint forces effort along with the Ontario Provincial Police and the Ottawa Police Service. And a male and female were arrested and charged along with the seizure of drugs and stolen property from that incident. In our community services, Constable Tompkins participated in meetings for the Lanark County Situation Table, Crime Stoppers Board, Youth at Risk Committee, the Smiths Falls Racism and Discrimination Committee, and the Lanark County Mental Health MCERT team meeting. He participated in the Stuff a Cruiser event, and he was the officer wearing the tutu at the St. Francis Turkey Trot. He also gave presentations to grade 7 and grade 8 students at Chimo School on social media do's and don'ts, as well as another presentation to that same group on substance abuse with the assistance of our mental health nurse went along with him. He participated in several case conferences for problems with students at various local schools, and he provided his monthly updates in his interviews for Your TV and Lake 88 FM. And that's the manager's report.
He continues to be a very busy person.
He is. He's probably the most visible and the most busiest. He's everywhere, and everybody loves him.
Just a question: are you doing letters to Santa this year?
I believe he will be doing that.
We're going to have the mailbox outside, or no?
We'll maybe be able to put the mailbox out front, and it just will cut down on some of the screening process and whatnot. So we'll see if we can get that outside, and we'll talk to Officer Tompkins and make sure that we have a venue for people to get their for the kids to get their letters up north. So we'll make sure that happens. And just on the note of the turkey trot, we had a number of our younger officers and newer officers out for that event as well. So it was very good. In fact, I think it was Sergeant King that wore the tutu this year. So
yes, I think it was.
Certainly nice to have some new faces out there connecting with the kids.
Yeah. Great. And I asked the question about the letters because there's going to be a Santa Claus parade again this year, right? Mayor Pankow? Oh, perfect.
Yeah, tell me.
I know Lindsay didn't have any.
Sorry, Chair. Just because I do have a quick update, just that the email is up for the Santa letters as well.
Good.
So you have the Santa at sfps.ca is up and running. So certainly for anyone that will be listening to this broadcast, and we'll make sure that it gets out on our website as well. But Santa at sfps.ca.
Perfect. Lindsay didn't have a report, but any questions for Lindsay or any comment, Lindsay?
I don't have any comments, but I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Okay. Traditionally, we do not meet in December. So if there's anything, we can do that by email. And do you want to set a date now for January, Chief, or do you want to wait closer till people have their new calendars?
If we could, I'm going to say if we want to wait a little bit, and maybe just because we'll have the next Monday's committee of the whole with regards to the first draft of budget, and then following the second draft, I'll certainly send out an email to the board to update the board to make sure everyone's aware of what's going on, and then maybe we can plan a meeting from there depending on when the following budget meeting will be. Does that sound all right?
Is that okay with everybody? All right. Well, I think we broke a record today. We would have been finished probably even earlier. So, Sean, you don't have to worry about popping out. You're good. So, motion to adjourn, please. Sean, Chris. And I'll take this opportunity to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and hope that you've all been good. And Santa brings you something really nice and not a piece of coal. So stay safe, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Karen.